The sun disappeared. For a moment, the skies above Earth went dark, not from a natural eclipse, but from something far worse. Shadows spread over cities and oceans as a massive alien fleet blocked the sunlight. Their ships were cold, black, and silent. Not a single warning shot was fired, just presence. And then, the message came. People of Earth, a deep alien voice echoed from orbit, translated in every language. You will kneel, or you will be erased. The Rulgar Empire had arrived. They were one of the oldest and most feared powers in the galaxy. They had conquered thousands of worlds, broken billions of lives. And now, they were here. Earth was weak. The civil wars had ended only 2 years ago. Most cities were still recovering. The global power grid was unstable. Military bases were empty. Satellites had fallen. No real fleet left. The United Earth Council gathered in a hidden underground chamber. Leaders from across the continents sat around a wide table, their faces tired and pale. President Hale, a stern man with silver hair, broke the silence. "We don't have the weapons," he said quietly. "We don't have the time." Someone whispered, "Maybe surrender isn't the worst." But before the sentence finished, a loud beep echoed through the control room. Everyone turned to the technician in the corner. She stared at her screen, eyes wide. "Sir," she said slowly, "we just received something strange. A signal." President Hale frowned. "From the aliens?" She shook her head. "No, it came from Earth. Antarctica." Whispers spread across the room. "Nothing's down there. That base was sealed a century ago. Project Iron Heart." Suddenly, the main screen flickered. A logo appeared, an old eagle symbol, covered in ice. And then a voice played. It wasn't human. It wasn't machine. It was both. Authorization confirmed. Project Iron Heart. Awakening. Gasps filled the room. General Mira Lin, once the most decorated soldier in the Eastern Defense Command, stood slowly. She hadn't spoken in over an hour. Her voice was calm, but sharp. "I thought Iron Heart was shut down after the Solar Rebellion." "It was," said Hale, "but it looks like it's been watching us. Waiting." "Waiting for what?" someone asked. General Lin looked up at the screen. "For this moment." Meanwhile, far in the south, under Antarctica's frozen mountains, heavy doors began to open. Ice cracked. Steel gears moved. Deep below, in a chamber untouched for generations, machines flickered to life. Power surged through old reactors. Walls glowed with ancient energy. In the center of the room, a cryopod released a hiss of steam. Inside it was a man, eyes closed, skin pale, wrapped in a black combat suit with a silver crest on his chest. "Reactivating Commander Marcus Vale," the system said. "Mission, Last Stand." Back in orbit, the Rulgar command ship floated above the Earth like a dark moon. Admiral Tharn stood on his bridge, looking down at the blue planet. His second-in-command approached. "They have not responded, sir." Tharn sneered. "Of course they haven't. They have nothing to say. Their leaders are insects hiding in sand. And if they resist," Tharn grinned, "then we give them a lesson. 1 city to start. Maybe more." Back on Earth, the debate raged in the war room. "We have 72 hours before the Rulgar strike," said President Hale. "We can't afford false hope. We must open peace talks." "No," General Lin said firmly. "Not yet." She turned toward the technician. "Patch me through to that base." The woman hesitated. "It's not responding to outside control." "Then who's controlling it?" Beneath Antarctica, the cryopod opened with a hiss. Marcus Vale gasped for breath. His eyes opened slowly, glowing faint blue. He sat up, touched his chest, and looked around at the lit chamber. A voice spoke. "Welcome back, Commander Vale. The Rulgar have arrived." He stood slowly, cracking his neck. "How long have I been out?" 207 years. "Perfect." Vale stepped onto a platform. Armor began to attach itself to his suit. A long black coat wrapped around his frame. Weapons unlocked. A sword. A plasma cannon. A data chip injected behind his ear. He looked up at the holographic image of Earth. Let's remind the stars who we are. The wind howled across Antarctica's frozen plains, but beneath the ice, silence ruled. Commander Marcus Vale stood at the center of the Iron Heart bunker. He had been asleep for over 2 centuries, frozen in time, kept alive only for Earth's final hour. That hour had come. Screens around him glowed as systems rebooted. The AI voice, ECJO, guided him through old files. The world is fractured, Commander. Civil wars ended recently. Earth is not ready for invasion. Vale studied the data. Global defenses were down. Most satellite systems offline. Armies dismantled. Earth had no fleet, no shields, no hope. Except him. Then it's good I'm here, Vale said calmly, sliding a sleek black blade into its sheath. Suddenly, a red light blinked on the central screen. Incoming message from the United Earth Council. Vale raised an eyebrow. Put them through. Inside the secret command bunker in Geneva, Earth's leaders stared at the man on the screen. Commander Vale looked like a ghost, alive from a past they had only read about. A legend. A soldier from the Great Galactic War. President Hale leaned in. Commander Vale, we didn't even know Iron Heart still functioned. It wasn't your job to know, Vale said. It was mine to wait. You were meant to wake only if the planet faced total destruction, General Mira Lin added. And here we are, Vale replied with a faint smile. Now tell me, what's the plan? Silence. Then Hale spoke. There is no plan. Vale's smile faded. Then let's make one. Above Earth, the Rolgar fleet grew restless. On the command ship Greyfire, Admiral Tharn paced across the bridge. No response. No tribute. No surrender, his second-in-command reported. Tharn snarled. Earth needs a lesson. He turned toward the large screen showing a digital map of the planet. Target one of their remaining capitals, he ordered. Fire when ready. The screen changed. Coordinates locked. Missiles armed. And then, alert. Incoming transmission. Everyone turned to the view screen. A new figure appeared. Human. Clad in dark armor. Cold eyes. A sword on his back. This is Commander Marcus Vale of Project Iron Heart, he said. Earth does not kneel. Tharn laughed. You're one man. No, Vale replied. I'm a warning. Then the screen cut. Seconds later, one of the smaller Rolgar warships, just outside orbit, exploded into dust. No weapon was seen. No shot fired. Just gone. Panic erupted across the alien bridge. What was that? Tharn shouted. Unknown energy spike. Origin. Earth. Back in Antarctica, Vale turned to the eye. Did the orbital strike platform fire? Yes. 1 shot. Fully operational. Remaining 6 are charging. Vale nodded. These weapons had been hidden, deep underground, forgotten by time. They were built for one reason only, if humanity ever faced extinction. And they still worked. Let's hit them again. Across Earth, the news spread fast. Old human weapon destroys alien ship. Earth commander returns from the past. Rolgar fleet shaken. First time in 9,000 years. Hope stirred. Not in governments, but in people. Civilians. Engineers. Old soldiers. Resistance fighters. They began to gather. They started repairing power grids. Digging up bunkers. Rebooting systems. Old uniforms were dusted off. Flags raised. Not from fear, but pride. Inside the Geneva bunker, General Lin watched the footage of Vale destroying the Rolgar warship. She turned to President Hale. This changes everything. Hale nodded, but we still can't win. Not against a whole empire. Lin didn't answer. She just stared at the screen where Vale had appeared. "Maybe we don't need to win," she whispered. "Maybe we just need to remind them who we are." In orbit, chaos spread through the Rolgar ranks. Admiral Tharn ordered defensive shields up. More scout ships launched, but they didn't return. More explosions, silent, precise, like death from nowhere. The Rolgars were used to conquering weak worlds. They weren't used to being hunted. Back on Earth, Vale stood before a round table deep in Ironheart's war room. Holograms flickered above it. Enemy positions, Earth's weak points, hidden weapons. ECJO assisted. "We have limited time, Commander. The Rolgar will launch a full-scale attack." "Let them," Vale said. "The more they commit, the harder they fall." He tapped the table. "Activate Phase 2. Deep underground, 6 old missiles rose from their bunkers. They were silent, invisible to alien sensors, designed for one thing: confusion. They didn't carry warheads. They carried mirrors, tech that could copy any ship's signal, location, and form. They launched without a sound, flying into the black. And suddenly, the Rolgar fleet saw more ships, ships that looked exactly like their own. Their radar was filled with ghosts. Their ranks turned on each other. Panic spread. And on Earth, Commander Vale smiled. The stars above Earth were no longer quiet. The Rolgar Empire's mighty fleet, once a symbol of fear, now swirled in chaos. Their own ships fired at each other. Radar systems screamed false alarms. Their sensors were useless. The mirror tech drones from Earth had turned their formation into confusion. Inside the command ship Gravefire, Admiral Tharn gripped the edge of his throne. "Identify the targets," he shouted. "We can't," cried his officers. "Every ship looks like us. We don't know who's real." Then came the voice again. Cold, confident. "You wanted Earth to kneel," Marcus Vale said, broadcasting from the surface. "Now watch your empire fall, one mistake at a time." The Admiral's fists tightened. "Enough. Prepare the Superlizzer. We'll burn the entire planet." Back on Earth, inside the Iron Heart bunker, Commander Vale was already watching. His AI assistant, ECJO, spoke calmly. "Energy spike detected. Rolgar weapon charging. Likely target: Earth's capital cities." Vale didn't flinch. Estimated time: 7 minutes. He turned toward the small war room, where a team of awakened specialists worked silently. These weren't soldiers. They were scientists, hackers, engineers, all once part of Ironheart, cryo-frozen like Vale, all now fully awake. "Bring online Operation Black Mirror," Vale ordered. A young tech named Kai hesitated. "But sir, it was never tested." "We test it now." Above the clouds, the Rolgar Superlizzer began to glow red. Massive panels unfolded from their largest battleship. Power levels climbed. This weapon had destroyed moons, cities, planets. Earth was next. But then, the stars blinked. For a moment, everything stopped. The Rolgar command screens blacked out. Their systems glitched. And suddenly, they saw something terrifying. Dozens of human warships appearing from behind Earth's moon. Massive, armed, ancient. They weren't real. But the Rolgars didn't know that. On board Greyfire, Admiral Tharn's eyes went wide. They had a fleet. No record, no signs of them before. "How?" shouted his tech officers. "They must have been cloaked." "Impossible. We should retreat." The fleet broke formation. Panic turned into full retreat orders. And that's when Vale struck. Back on Earth, Vale watched the chaos from the bunker. "Begin orbital strike," he said. 6 defense satellites, ancient and forgotten, lit up with blue energy. Built during humanity's last great war, they were hidden, never used, and controlled only by Ironheart. Beams of energy fired through the black sky. Not random. Surgical. Rolgar ships exploded. One by one, ships vanished in fire and silence. The skies were clearing. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, people across the globe watched the live stream. The world had been ready to surrender just days ago. Now, they saw something else. Rolgar ships burning. Admirals panicking. Earth fighting back. In cities, civilians cheered. Resistance groups began uniting. Old military bases were unlocked. Nations set aside their anger to prepare. A single phrase spread across the internet, broadcast by Vale's team. "We do not kneel." In Geneva, the United Earth Council met again. President Hale paced, breathless. How long can he hold them off? General Lin smiled. He's not holding them off. He's pushing them back. The council turned toward the screen. They watched as another Rolgar dreadnought fell from orbit, torn in half by an invisible force. And then, total silence in space. The Rolgar had stopped firing. They weren't just confused anymore. They were afraid. Inside the gray fire, Admiral Tharn stood in silence. The false human fleet, the orbital strikes, the ancient commander. Nothing made sense. And worst of all, he saw no fear in his enemy. Only strategy. Only precision. He slammed his fists on the console. "Prepare a boarding party. I'm going down to the surface myself." Back in Antarctica, Vale was already waiting. He stood alone outside the bunker, under the stars. Behind him, the lights of Ironheart glowed softly. A sleek black sword hung from his back. He knew what was coming. Isiko's voice whispered through his earpiece. "Enemy dropship inbound. They're coming for you, Commander." Vale smirked. "Let them." A cold wind swept across the frozen land of Antarctica. Snow whipped around the metal landing zone. A large shadow moved across the sky. The Rolgar dropship descending from orbit. Its landing gear hit the ice like thunder. Inside, Admiral Tharn stood tall, armored in black and red. Behind him, 12 elite Rolgar shock troops moved in silence. They were trained to break kings, to erase rebellions, to end wars. But today, their target was a single man, Commander Marcus Vale. Vale waited outside the bunker, his long coat blowing in the wind. His hair was graying, but his eyes burned with focus. His hand rested near his hip, where a strange old weapon, half gun, half blade, hung in a holster. Behind him, the entrance to Project Ironheart's command core was sealed. No one else stood beside him. He was alone. But he didn't look afraid. The dropship door hissed open. Admiral Tharn stepped out, tall and reptilian, eyes glowing orange. His voice thundered through a speaker. "Human, you've caused enough damage. We come to claim your surrender." Vale didn't move. "I don't remember inviting you," he said calmly. Tharn narrowed his eyes. "You're one man," the Admiral growled. "We are the Rolgar. We have ruled for 10,000 years." Vale took a single step forward. "You ruled prey," he said. "But Earth? We're something else." The Rolgar troops raised their weapons. Vale didn't even flinch. From under the snow, hidden turrets rose from the ground. Ancient defense systems from a forgotten war. Energy hummed around them. Before the Rolgars could react, the turrets locked on. "Fire," Vale said. Blue bolts streaked through the snowstorm. The first 5 soldiers dropped instantly. The rest scattered, but they were too slow. In seconds, only Admiral Tharn remained. Smoke filled the air. Tharn roared and charged, drawing a glowing plasma blade. He was fast, strong. Hundreds of battles had made him a living legend. But Vale was faster. He moved like a shadow. His hand flashed. Steel met plasma. Sparks lit the dark sky. Their duel shook the ice. Blades clashed. Kicks landed. Blood was drawn. Tharn tried to overpower him. He was taller, heavier, stronger. But Vale used every trick. Gravity shifts, momentum taps. Ancient martial tactics lost to time. Finally, Vale's blade pierced the Admiral's shoulder. Tharn fell to his knees, gasping. "How?" he growled. Vale looked down at him, breathing steady. "You asked Earth to kneel," he said. "You didn't know we teach our children to stand." Above, the rest of the Rolgar fleet watched in silence. Their admiral's life signs blinked red. Command ships hesitated. Inside Project Ironheart, Ikiko activated Earth's long-range defense cannons. Each cannon locked onto a separate Rolgar ship. Then Vale's voice echoed through every Rolgar channel. "This is Earth's only warning. You came to conquer. We came to survive. We will not kneel. Leave now, or join your admiral." On the Rolgar command bridge, fear finally won. Orders were given. Retreat. Thousands of ships began to turn. The skies cleared as the alien fleet pulled back, silent and shaken. No last words, no final threats, just silence and shame. Back in Antarctica, Vale stood over the wounded admiral. "Take this message home," he said. "Earth is not yours. Earth belongs to the fighters, to the broken, to the ones who rise." He turned away and walked into the snow. The turrets lowered, the bunker doors opened, and Ironheart glowed once again. Across the world, people celebrated. The news spread faster than light. Earth defeats Rolgar Empire. One man stood against a fleet. "We do not kneel." Cities lit up, flags were raised. Families hugged and cried. For the first time in years, Earth had hope. But in the shadows, Vale knew this was only the beginning. Because if the Rolgars could find Earth, others would come next. Bigger, smarter, stronger, and Earth had just painted a target on its back. The stars above Earth were calm again. The massive Rolgar fleet was gone, retreated, broken, and silent. For the first time in centuries, Earth stood alone and proud. Cities around the world erupted in celebration. People poured into the streets, waving flags, cheering, crying. Screens replayed the moment Vale's voice rang across the galaxy. "We do not kneel." But far below the surface, in the frozen heart of Antarctica, Marcus Vale sat alone in the Ironheart Command Center. The lights were dim. The room was quiet now. Only Isiko, the AI voice, broke the silence. Enemy fleet gone. Planet secure. All systems stable. Vale didn't smile. He just stared at the stars on the screen. "That wasn't a war," he said. "It was a test." In orbit, Earth's old satellite systems flickered back to life. One of them, the Deep Watch Array, began picking up signals again. Faint echoes from the edge of known space. A ping here, a whisper there. But one signal stood out. Unfamiliar. Encrypted. Not Rolgar. It pulsed slowly, as if it was listening, or watching. In Geneva, the United Earth Council gathered once more. President Hale stood at the podium, her voice steady. "We stood alone, and we survived. The galaxy saw us as weak. They were wrong." She looked into the camera. "To those watching now from the shadows of space, let this be your warning. We will not kneel. We will not forget. And we are no longer afraid." Back in the bunker, Vale walked through a dark hallway filled with ancient machines. He stopped at a sealed vault door. Isiko's voice echoed. "Commander, are you sure?" Vale nodded. "It's time. The galaxy will come again. And next time, it won't just be the Rolgar." The vault hissed open. Inside were 10 cryopods. Each one held a sleeping warrior, human, enhanced, powerful, marked with the Ironheart seal. The last of Earth's old protectors. Vale looked at them, then placed his hand on the control panel. "Wake them up." In deep space, beyond known maps, a council of alien empires watched Earth's broadcast. One of them, a tall creature in golden armor, narrowed his eyes. They were supposed to be extinct. Another alien, with glowing blue skin, whispered, "No, They were only sleeping. On Earth, as the sun rose over the snowy mountains, a new message was sent into space. Simple, clear, from humanity. We are awake now. Come if you dare.